Welcome to the Learn to Sew Academy channel. Please remember to subscribe. Thank you.
In this tutorial, we're going to be doing a very simple, easy to make jumpsuit. And in this jumpsuit, the upper part of it is going to be shared. So in other words, we're going to gather the upper part either with an elastic thread, or we're going to use an 1/4 inch wide elastic. So whichever one that you have available, you can use. Before we start, I wanted to mention that each time you do a jumpsuit, you're simply using two parts and making it into one. In other words, for a jumpsuit, what you're doing is you're taking a bodice and a pant and you're combining them together to form one piece. To get started, we want to know what our measurements are. And because the upper part is going to be gathered with the elastic, like I explained earlier, what we're going to do is we're going to use more than what we measure for our bust. So over here for this bust, in this project, the bust is going to be 32 inches, but we need 1.5 times that. So in other words, we're using 32 inches times 1.5, and that's going to give us 48 inches for the bust. We use like 2 times the bust measurement. We may have it exact and it may not be snug enough, so I prefer to use 1.5 the bust measurement. So using 1.5 of 32 inches gives me 48 inches. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut the upper part of the jumpsuit, and when we do that, we just simply need to fold our fabric into two, just like we do when we cut the top. That's what we're going to be doing. However, in this case, again, we don't have a zipper. So what we're going to do is when we fold this, we want to just measure half of our 48 inches. And I'm going to add, for our 48 inches, I'm going to be adding 1 inch on both ends, meaning 2 inches on the front and 2 inches at the back. And because I'm doing 2 inches, that means I'm adding 4 additional inches. So if I add 4 more to the 48, I'm going to have 52. So what I need here is a length of 26. So when I fold this into 4, I'm looking for 13 inches, because when you divide that 52 into 4, we're going to have 13 inches. What I mean by dividing it into 4 is because I'm going to now be folding this fabric into 4 layers, and those 4 layers are going to represent my total circumference for the bust. That is why we're dividing this into 4. We're not leaving any additional space for zipper because we are not having a zipper. Now I have 4 layers of fabric on the side right here. So I want to make sure that what I have across is 13 inches. Remember, each side, the front is going to be 26 and the back is going to be 26 inches wide. And when we divide that into 2, that 26, we're going to have 13. So what I have here is good enough for me. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out my half length from this. Now again, this is going to be an off shoulder. So because of that, I have an half length of 17. So just like we do other off shoulders, I'm going to take away some part of this because we don't have a neckline. I'm going to link my video on other off shoulder that we have worked on this channel, so you can have a better understanding and more depth as to why we're doing this. But right now we're going to take off 6 inches, which is going to represent like the upper part where we would have had a neckline and the shoulder and all that. So we're taking off 6 inches and we have an half length of 15. So when we take off 6 inches from that 15, we're going to be left with 9 inches. Another way is just to extend your tape measure to this 6 inches mark. So you start from the 6 inches mark, and then you measure your 15 inch for the half length, which is what we need, and then you add whatever allowances you need. Alternatively, you can just say my 15 inch less the 6 inches that I'm taking off for the off shoulder part. So that will give me 9 inches. So I can say I need to measure 9 inches. But right here at the top, I'm going to fold this in twice. And when I fold this in twice, I'm going to leave an allowance for that at the top right here. And then at the bottom, where I'm going to be joining it to the lower part of this jumpsuit, which is the pant part of the jumpsuit, I'm going to need another allowance there so that I can join it together. So on the top here, I'm going to be leaving 1 inch at the top, half an inch at the bottom, altogether 1.5 inch. And I know I have 9 inches plus my 1.5. I'm gonna be looking at 10 inches. I'm gonna be looking at 10.5 inches. So that's what I'm gonna be working on right here. Now I connect my lines. And next thing, I'm going to just cut this. Next is to cut out my armhole. So for the armhole, I'm going to be using 3.5, measured from the side. And remember that we already removed the neckline portion. So what I'm going to use here is what is left from what your armhole would have been. If your armhole would have been 10, you know you have taken off 6 inches. So you will need 4. And then you will add whatever you're going to be folding on the top. The allowance you left to fold on the top, you will add that to it. So again, I'm using 3.5. You can use 4 inches, you can use 3 inches. And I'm going to make this here 4 inches plus what I'm going to be turning in. So altogether, I'm going to make this 5. And this is what we need to cuff to where we have this. You can use a cuff ruler to connect your line from that point to the other point if that works better. And so we're just going to cut that. And that completes this. Now I'm just going to open up this side. And this completes the main bodice. And again, this is going to be shared later with an elastic thread or an elastic or regular elastic, whatever you have available. So we'll see how we do that in the video when we start to stitch this. So the next part we're going to work on is the lower part of the jumpsuit, which is our pants. And when we do this, we're going to consider the full length that we have for our jumpsuit. So in this case, my full length is 53. So that 53, we're going to take away our half length, which is 15 inches. Now the length I have right here is my full length less the half length. So I have 53 inches less 15 inches. That gives me 38 inches. And I'm adding 1.5 inches to that. So I have 39 inches here. So I added 1.5 inches because I need half an inch to join it to the top, and I need 1 inch to hem it at the bottom. I've folded the fabric into 2 like this. We're first going to cut the front part of the pant, and then we'll cut the back. When you fold your fabric, you want to make sure that you have enough this way. Now this is going to be slightly different from the straight pant I did earlier. That straight pant, we shaped it, but I'm not going to be shaping this particular one the same way I shaped that straight one, because I want this to just flow all the way straight down. So it's going to be slightly different. So if you want to see how I did the other pant, please check in the description, and I'll also leave it on this video for you to see how we made a straight pant. So the first thing we're going to do again is I want to make sure I have enough, and to do that I'm going to be looking at what the measurement of the hip is, and I'll compare it to the measurement of the thigh circumference. So for the hip, I have 35 inches for the hip, and when we divide that by 4, again we are dividing by 4 because we went round to measure the hip circumference. So when we divide that by 4, we get 8.75. Now I also took a measurement of the thigh, and for this particular project the thigh we are using is 22, and when we did the measurement of the thigh, that is just one leg. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is for the thigh we're going to divide that 22 by 2, and that gave me 11. If you look at it, the 11 inches is way more than the 8.75 inches, which is a quarter of our hip. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the 11 inches, since it's the widest of the two. That's what I'm going to use to make sure I have enough, and I'm going to of course add a little bit more so that as I begin to cut I have enough fabric. So over here I have a little bit over 14, and that is enough for me. Now the first thing I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to first measure what I have for my crush, and what I have in this case is I'm going to be using the hip again. I'm going to divide that hip by 4, and when I divide that again I have 8.75, but in this case I'm going to be adding a 3-inch to that. This is because I'm doing a jumpsuit, so I'll put that ease of 3 inches to that. So what I'm going to have is going to be 11.75 when I have the 3 inches. So that's what I'm going to measure from up here. I'm just going to measure that all across. I'm going to join this line so we can quickly follow and see what I'm doing. Now I know that from this tip down here is my crush depth. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to measure for my hip and my thigh. They are going to be right here on this line. Now the hip and the thigh, that is where I'm going to be using to make my cuff for the crush. So the first thing I'm going to do is the thigh I have again is 11 inches. So I'm going to measure my 11 inches. That's 22 divided by 2. So my 11 inches is right here. Now I want to mention that when I did the straight pant, I left some part of this edge in here. I left like 2 inches or so, but that's because I wanted to shape that side. But for this particular one, I'm just going to leave it all the way straight like that. So that's why I'm beginning to measure all the way from here. So again, I'm measuring my thigh, and my thigh is 11. That is what I have here. And then I'm going to measure what my hip is. The hip again is 8.75. That's after we divided. This is where my 8.75 is, right there. This 8.75, I want to measure it all the way to the top here, because this is what is going to guide me as I make that curve for my crush area here. Now I'll join this line that I've made here. So what's left is for me to join from here over here, and when I do that I can either measure from 2 to 3 inches this way, and I just make my cuff mark like that to join it. What I have here is 3 inches. So you can either use your free hand to just do that, or you can use your curve ruler to do that. So you just want to join that point where you have the where you measure the thigh, where the thigh ended. You want to join that to that line where you extended the hip measurement. So that's what we have joined here. The next thing I'm gonna do is, because again I just want my pants to just go just straight, no shaping on this side of it. So over here you can either decide to just shape it a little, or you can just leave it all the way. So I know that the tie I had here was 11, so what I want to do is I'm just gonna make the bottom of it, I'm gonna do a 10 at the bottom. So I'm just gonna have a slight shape, very slight, from the crotch area all the way to the bottom. So I'm just going to join this, and it's going to give me a very little slant. I hope you can see the mark I'm making on the fabric. So this is what I've done. I've just marked it all the way. I've linked it up here from the top to the bottom. So now I'm going to cut following the markings I have on the fabric. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to, because this is supposed to be the front, so this is the side right here, so I'm going to open the side up. Now that the front is done, the next thing is I'm going to use this as my template to cut the back. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to place the front pant. I'm going to place it on the back, but when I do so, this time around I'm going to be leaving some allowances right here for my sewing. It is this allowance I'm leaving that's going to make up for the allowance for the front. Again, I'm doing this slightly different from the way I did the pants, so there are different ways you can do this. So I'm going to put an allowance here. I'm going to do a 1-inch allowance here. Some part of these are going to tally to what we did for the straight pant, and some are going to be slightly different. So up here I want to leave between 0.75 to 1 inch, so it depends on each individual. So I'm going to leave around 1 inch at the top right there. Now from the end of where I have the crotch, I'm going to add 3 inches right over here. And I'm going to do an extra 1.5 inch to add to the front panel that I have here. I'll join this all the way to the top right there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to join from this tip. I'm going to do a slant and join it all the way down like that, so that I have a slant. I'm just going to draw my line to extend that crotch for the back. And right here at the top, we're going to slant it and have a slanted line. Journey from that tip down. The next thing is to now form a new curve. I'm trying to get the best pen that can show, the best marker that will show. Okay, this is working. These are soluble marker. It's going to wash off in water, so don't use your regular marker. This is a marker that's meant for fabric, so it's going to wash off. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to join from my back crotch all the way to the bottom of the pant. I'm going to put like an extra 2-inch allowance at the bottom, and then I'm going to connect it from the top here all the way to the bottom. That's what I'm doing now. Now that that is done, I'm just going to cut. And that completes the cutting. Oh, I need to cut this also into two, so I'm just gonna cut the side and make sure we have two for the back, two for the front. I'm just gonna cut the slant that I marked there. So we cut this into two. And that completes the cutting of the lower part of the jumpsuit. Check the next video and see how you can sew this jumpsuit. Be sure to subscribe and leave me a thumbs up. Thanks.